Let's have some fun today. There's so many excellent Elden Ring lore channels and videos, so it's time to get a little weird. Miquella is the Scadutree avatar, or the Scadutree avatar is the collection of Miquella's discarded parts. I first started thinking about this because why else would it drop Miquella's Great Rune? And it seems odd that something so valuable, even if it is shattered, is being held by the Scadutree avatar. I think it's also important to look at its description. A great rune relinquished by Miquella. Broken and bereft of its bounty, it retains naught but the power to resist charms. Miquella set off for the tower, enshrouded by shadow, abandoning everything, his golden flesh, his blinding strength, even his fate, all in an effort to bury the original sin, to embrace the whole of it and be reborn as a new god. Miquella abandoned everything, and his great rune just happened to be with the Scadutree avatar. And the Scadutree is also set up to be the opposite of the Erdtree, kind of the shadow compared to the light. And I feel like this split also fits with the themes of Miquella. So let's look at the remembrance of the Shadow Sunflower. Scadutree is the shadow of the Erdtree, born of dark notions that bear no sense of order, that twist and bend its stalk, rendering it brittle. Miquella, in attempting to create his own new age of compassion, is basically following in the steps of the gods before him, having rigid order controlled by him versus bearing no sense of order through the crucible or such as through the description of the Scadutree avatar. This is similar to the Land of Shadow incantation that can be received from the Remembrance, as it states. Channels the force of the Shadowtree's power, and its gold is accompanied by shadow. Again, kind of tying together the motif between Miquella, the Scadutree, and the Crucible. The weapon that you can receive from the Remembrance of the Shadow Sunflower is called the Shadow Sunflower Blossom, and its description has a very interesting line. Much like the Scadutree itself in appearance, a second stalk winds tightly around the first, almost as if in a tender embrace. There are a couple things to unpack here. First, it is described as a tender embrace, with Miquella very frequently being described as tender and kind. It is also spun around itself like a spiral similar to the spiral of the Crucible. What Miquella discarded and was collected is much more primal and real in nature, filled with all his love and emotions. This also reminds me of how he is embracing Radahn and how he embraces the Tarnished to compel them, and it kind of only adds more intrigue to why the Scadutree avatar drops his Great Rune, because like we mentioned before, as its only current power is to resist the charm of that embrace. Now, it seems very weird that the Scadutree avatar has 3 phases with distinct health bars and a DLC that doesn't have as many phases as other FromSoft games. But if you subscribe to this theory, thematically it begins to make sense. Each phase represents a different stage in Miquella's life or a different transformation. The first, and the phase with the least amount of HP, represents Miquella cursed with eternal youth. The second is his attempted transformation within the Erdtree, and the third represents his ascent to godhood. The final, and I think most compelling case, comes from the arms of the Scadutree avatar and the arms of Miquella. So if you look at these clips from Bonfire VN, we can see both character models having 4 arms, and both models are also missing just one part of their arms. And I find it hard to believe that there's not at least some connection between these two. Now I bet some of you are thinking, what about Saint Trina? Wasn't she discarded as well? And to that I would say, yeah, she was. But I think the fact that Saint Trina is a sentient being leads to them continuing to be an independent entity instead of being assimilated or brought together into something else. But yeah, what do you think? It's my quick crackpot theory, but it seems like it might have some legs to it, even if I'm off. Anyways, comment your thoughts and what you think the Scadutree avatar really is.